Everybody, how you doing? Bostonian Plays Video Games back at you. February 29th on a leap year. So happy leap year to everybody. Only happens once every 4 years, so there's that. Today I want to talk about, because we recently had a Democratic debate that was, quite interesting as far as kind of the attitudes of every candidate, at least who we have left. And, the showing wasn't great, and I just want to kind of explore whether or not, Bernie Sanders can win. In 2016, he was very much a popular candidate, but, and he still is, obviously. He's winning. Okay, so, and I think it's because people, especially young people, are relating to what he's talking about, and see it as kind of a fair distribution of wealth as far as you're done, homie. All right, who's getting me now? Oh, what's this guy glowing? Kickball, huh? All right, homeboy. It's about time. All right, who's up there? Taking cheap shots. Oh, good, I'll get that. And again, obviously very popular in 2016. And but one thing that worked against him was when he dropped out of the race and then supported Hillary Clinton. And instead of running as an independent or something like that. And again, it's always been my suspicion that he was just kind of being used to mobilize a specific group of people and then put them and then switch them over to Hillary voters, which unfortunately didn't happen. It seems more likely that they switched over to being Trump supporters, which is odd because they're both they're kind of polar opposites, or they are polar opposites as far as what they believe. So and Bernie is going to attract a younger voter base, and I think there's economic reasons for that because a lot of young people, including myself, and I'm not in the demographic of 24 to 29 anymore, but there's a lot of young people that are kind of strapped with debt just out of college, and see the United States as being a rich country that's forgetting about its people as far as seeing all these numbers on Wall Street and then looking at their own dinner plate and not much is there. So, and a lot of the Bernie supporters, in my opinion, do come from a demographic of people that can even go to college, because there's a lot of people in the United States who don't even have a chance. They just weren't born with the cards intellectually, or they weren't born with the cards in a socio-economic way. And what I mean by that is, again, when I was traveling the country, I saw a lot of poverty. I mean, there's a lot of businesses that used to be, corporations that used to be, or industry, I should say, that used to be, and they'd set up shop in a particular area, and actually it's kind of related to Fallout 76, because there's a company called the Hornwright Company, and they'd set up shop. I think in this game it's a mining company, and they'd set up shop in a small town, and the small town was flourishing, and then all of a sudden, Hornwright had to pull out, and everybody who was able to start their own businesses because they were getting a good source of income with the Hornwright Company. A husband or wife who was working for the company could then support their partner in their dreams of like opening at least as it's provided in this game, a bakery or something like that, a pizza shop, whatever the dreams are. But then when the company goes away, then people land on hardship again, and I saw that all throughout the country, and that's still very much prevalent. And so when Trump is running, or did run in 2016, and Bernie was running in 2016, I say it all the time, but they were kind of hitting the same sentiments, but the language was guiding these sentiments in a different way. So, Bernie's sentiments were, he was kind of the leader of people who feel, economically strapped, but are not as attached to, industry that had created a good life for many Americans, and then had to either closed or were outsourced. And Trump hit that right on the head as far as, people who, had seen industry go away, and then they were promised that, he would cut taxes and bring these companies back. Now, seemingly, and I think it's a little bit of an illusion, Trump has been able to at least be the sitting president while the economy is going good, and that's for a lot of factors. It is due to tax cut as far as corporations, so that they can kind of open their doors and hire a couple more people. It's also, somewhat of what the Obama administration did, but the corporations, I think there was a little bit of sabotage going on with the Obama administration, and they were not, hiring as many people, almost in spite of the administration, because people were calling for regulations at the time because of the 2008 collapse. So, and the thing that we need to put into perspective is the withstanding effects of what the 2008 collapse really means, and that's where it comes in. That's where the Bernie vote, I think, still comes into play, because again, as I was saying, where the older voters might go with Trump to bring back, for the promise of bringing back industry, and the idea that immigration is negatively affecting job opportunities and stuff like that. Bernie is tapping into the long-standing effects of the 2008 economic collapse. And the 2008 economic collapse, you got to figure, we're coming out of the Bush administration, and but you also have a demographic of people who lived through the Clinton administration, and the Clinton administration at the time, even though it became very negative for economically for the country. Oh boy. At the time, everybody was working. Especially those kind of like service jobs and restaurant jobs, obviously, and stuff like that. You could get fired from one job and go across the street and get another one. I mean, that was the Clinton administration. But, as time went on and, trade deals kind of exposed themselves, it wasn't, it wasn't extraordinarily beneficial to a lot of people. So, and the reason why I'm even talking about this is because I think it lends itself to why Bernie is resonating with voters, because these effects that have been going on for a long time, are affecting people now immediately, and people are, as much as the economy's doing good, I mean, like I said, when I travel the country, I mean, a lot of people are not doing well, and they want to see somebody come in and give them a chance. As far as having a good life for themselves and give them some hope so that they can build families. And I want to talk about that in another video as far as, where we are as far as hope in this country and how it's affecting, our visions of the future and how negativity is kind of pushed upon us as well and where that comes from. And I kind of touched upon it in my last video when I was talking about consumerism and capitalism. But I'd like to go further into those ideals, ideas. But today, I just want to discuss whether or not Bernie can win. So, I've kind of gone over it, at least a little bit, paraphrasing, where we're at as a country, because some people are doing very well, and why wouldn't you want to be under, a booming economy where you're being promised less taxes when you're doing well. You're making good money. You're seeing how much the government is taking from you. And you want somebody who's going to lessen that effect and give you more money. Whether or not you just work for a corporation or if you work, if you've built a business of your own, I mean, obviously those ideas are attractive. If you don't have that and you're financially strapped and you're seeing how rich the country is and the maneuvers and the schemes to, either take your money or basically bully you when you're down and out and poor, then you want some representation to help you against a lot of the what I consider to be bullying going on. During the 2008 economic collapse, I can remember the government was getting a huge bailout. I was working. But, if you even missed one payment for your student loans or something like that, or a credit card, they were calling, and they were calling all the time because they still wanted their money. Even though, they were the ones in the first place who, they were the ones in the first place who were fucking around with the market and caused it to crash. So, and there's one more video that I want to do, which is basically the, about Wall Street and just, how there's really no relationship between Wall Street and the population. I mean, they're in their own reality and world, and they're not concerned about anybody else, and they want what works for them. Because, if the game's rigged and you're the one benefiting, then you want to continue to have the game rigged. You don't want people to have a democratic voice and start changing the rules of the game so that it's not benefiting you as much. But anyway, so can Bernie win? The fact of the matter is this: he still has a large support system, and that's very much being showcased with his 2020 run, because they were disappointed that he wasn't chosen in 2016, and they want a chance to try and get him in there again. I understand that. The problem is that I think a lot of people are turned off by the fact that he supported Hillary Clinton, as I've stated already in this video. After it was pretty much exposed that he was screwed over, and it doesn't show a lot of backbone, to be honest with you. And there's a couple other things that he's done even on this 2020 run that show the same thing. And the media themselves are going against Bernie, but you always have to kind of consider that with a narrow brow, in my opinion, because it's kind of like, well, why don't they want him to? Is it because he's not going to bend over backwards or whatever to corporate lobbyists and Wall Street, or is it a lesson from the reverse psychology of the Trump victory in 2016? I mean, the media was totally against Donald Trump in 2016, and everyone was surprised when he won because the media continued to say that he wasn't going to win and all that kind of stuff. So are they doing the same thing with Bernie? So that Trump. So maybe that Trump supporters don't really take it as seriously, just kind of like Hillary supporters didn't take the Trump run seriously, and then all of a sudden you have Trump as president. So that could be the other thing. And that's why I do think that he has a chance, because it is right now it's being presented as if he doesn't. And I'm hearing a lot of people who used to be supporters of him kind of be disillusioned by what he was saying in 2016. And I guess what I mean by disillusion is the fact that he's just not coming across as a as a strong candidate anymore, because a lot of his weaknesses and a lot of the fact that it looks like he's not standing up for himself in particular situations. I think that's turning a lot of people off. But as we could see in the Democratic debates, number one, I don't think there's a lot of competition, and number two, the Democratic Party is being, well, I don't want to say that, because every debate, everyone's always yelling and screaming at each other trying to get the nomination. And, it's the same thing that happened with the most recent Democratic debate. So I don't want to say that that's unique to that particular debate. So do I think Bernie can win? I do. I think it's and again, for the reasons I stated, perhaps people will underestimate him, just like the Trump just like on the Trump campaign trail, and then win. But again, my considerations always go back to, okay, who would benefit from this and who wouldn't? I mean, what's better? The thing with Trump is that you get an asshole in there, and someone like Obama, who's charismatic and intelligent, you expect certain things from his, addressing the nation, as far as, if he was in here for coronavirus, or, his how he would guide the temperament of the country after a terrorist attack or something like that, where I think you benefit from Trump if you're a major corporation or something like that, because people already consider him to be an asshole, and he can come out and be an asshole and say, no, we're going to do it this way, and they're just going to do it that way, and they don't have to be as charismatic or secretive about what they're going to do. And so if you have, let's say you want to do heavy negotiations with China or something like that. Well, in the Obama administration, you're kind of you're gonna try and be appear strong and powerful, but the negotiations are going to be much softer than how Trump is presenting it. And is that beneficial to people who would to people who would take advantage of a China deal, which has probably been drawn up by everyone but Trump, or at least a lot of people and Trump. And what would Bernie bring to the table? I mean, he would constantly have to. It'd be one of two things: either he gets in there, and the American population is now used to the fact that these ideas are never going to be adopted by the American government, and that is, particular education goals and health care and stuff like that. So if you put somebody in there like Bernie, it might just be to make sure it's anti-Trump, get Trump out of there, make sure Bernie's a one-term president like Carter, and and reinforce that these ideas are just never going to work, and Wall Street is just going to do whatever the heck, whatever the heck it wants to do. So that's what I see if he wins, and if he loses, I think it's just because the Democratic Party, number one, just cannot agree on anything. There's a lot of infighting, and they just don't know what their values are anymore, and they need to come to some type of consensus on what they're and unite the party and see what they are going to be moving forward. I mean, the thing with Donald Trump is that he wasn't a politician. Why is this shit not working? He wasn't a politician. The Republicans were against him, but he was not conventionally Republican, and he kind of redefined who they are, and they kind of needed that because the Democrats had been in power for 8 years, and the Republicans were confused. They were testing other ideas out. There was the Tea Party and all that kind of stuff, and but it still seemed traditionally Republican. It's greedy and very in your face about being shoulder to shoulder with corporations. I mean, yes, smaller government, but in the hands of corporations. So that's what I think about Bernie Sanders, whether or not he can win or not. And the media's against him. People are turning on him. There's still a large voter base that will support him and anybody but Trump. But what does that mean in the larger scheme of things? Because to me, especially in capitalism, there's a lot of games going on. There's a lot of special interests and agendas, and we don't really know what that is. We're dealing with our own lives, and which one would be more beneficial in the long run? So. And the other thing is, you keep Trump in there for 4 years, you destroy him by destroying the economy, and then you were able to run on change if you're a Democrat. So if you have Trump for 4 more years, and if anything happens to the economy, which is something he boasts big time, then the Democrats are in position to run on change and the fact that it's not working and how they can fix the system, and they regain control. But hopefully, they'll be able to agree on a couple things. But that's it. That's it for right now. Thank you.